Welcome back to State of the FBS, and we are less than 2 months from college football season, which means I finally have some video ideas and stuff to talk to you guys about. So it's been a little bit too long. I know I've been working on some other stuff in the off time, doing some college stuff, but we're back. I have time now. College football season is ramping back up, so more videos will be coming out, and we're starting with quarterback rankings, specifically for the SEC. Expect these for more conferences moving forward, but we're going to start with the SEC, and I know there are only 16 teams. There are going to be 18 quarterbacks on this list. I believe that these 18 guys all have a chance to start games at some point this season realistically, so I included them all here, even though there will be more than one quarterback for multiple teams. So let's start off at number 18, and that is going to be with Kentucky's Cutter Boley. The redshirt freshman threw for 338 yards last year, 2 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, and I know what you're thinking. That's not very good, and you would be absolutely correct. Really struggled against Louisville in that game, threw an interception versus Florida, threw an interception versus Texas. But, I mean, you look at those games, it's a true freshman being chucked out into some top 25 teams. Texas was great, one of the best defenses in the country. Louisville was good. Florida, more so towards the end, were not great to start the season, so maybe that one's a little less understandable, but still, this guy has huge potential. He is a big dude, too. 6'5", over 200, absolutely built. Is a gunslinger, and you kind of take the good with the bad with that, and you saw a lot of the bad last year. Isn't really comfortable yet in that environment in SEC play. There's not going to be a ton around him at Kentucky. Berrien Brown has left, is now an LSU Tiger, so not great for him either, and he's not a runner. So really is a one-dimensional quarterback who is really going to like to take risks. So I think he'll be the second option for Kentucky, but he's kind of your break glass in case of emergency plan if something happens to Zach Calzada at some point in the season, or if Zach Calzada kind of reverts to type what we saw to him at some points at A&M. So Cutter Boley at number 18, although I still think does have potential, will be a good quarterback at some point for the Wildcats. Moving on up to number 17, it's Ty Simpson at Alabama, and I know what you're thinking. Ty Simpson, that low? Man, the Auburn thing in the background there, of course, this guy's biased. He's hating on Alabama players. No, I'm not. Alabama is one of the 2 schools with 2 quarterbacks on this list, and you'll notice I haven't named the true freshman. He is later on this list, and maybe later than some of you would expect. But for now, Ty Simpson sits at 17. I would expect him to start the season for Alabama. Even if you redshirt Keelan Russell going in and that's the plan, I don't see how that holds. I haven't seen nearly enough from Ty Simpson his time on the field. Look absolutely overmatched versus USF, aside from one good throw to C.J. Dupree for 45 yards, and a lot of that yardage was Dupree himself on that play. And if this guy's just not getting on the field in 3 years at Alabama, I know Jalen Milroe is a good quarterback. Jalen Milroe is a very, very good athlete, solid quarterback for Alabama. If Ty Simpson hasn't played up until this point, I don't see how a guy that's as freakishly athletic and talented as Keelan Russell doesn't get on the field at some point, especially because if you're Kalen DeBoer, you don't just get seasons off at Alabama. That fan base does not accept that at all. So if you're looking at missing this 12-team playoff for a second consecutive year, which I think this fan base would view as unacceptable, maybe you chuck Keelan Russell out there. I just don't have a lot of faith in Ty Simpson. He's appeared in 16 total games and has 0 career touchdowns. And I know a lot of that's very small sample size, but still, you got to get one at some point playing garbage time for Alabama for this long. I don't have a lot of confidence. I was going to say I would love to be proved wrong. As an Auburn student, I would not love to be proved wrong, but still for Simpson's career, I think that you always love to see guys succeed when they are put in the chance to. But moving on up to number 16, it is Joey Aguilar of Tennessee. And this is a weird one. Was part of this Nico Iamaleava trade, quote-unquote, originally transferred from App State to UCLA, now is coming back to this area of the country up to Knoxville, Tennessee, and this guy, I think he's a bit underrated, but I can't convince myself that he's going to be able to ball out in the SEC necessarily. At App State in 2024, threw for 3,003 yards, 23 touchdowns, and 14 picks. And that was a step back, because in 2023, this guy was very good. He had 3,757 yards, 33 touchdowns, and only 10 interceptions. And For App State, a team that has not really had a ton of elite quarterback play, this guy was a breath of fresh air. If you look at the App State single-season record books, he holds the records for single-season passing yards, single-season passing touchdowns, single-season total offense, single-season 200-yard passing games, single-season pass completions, and single-season passing attempts, all of which were set in 2023. So there is something there, at least. Before that, he played 2 seasons at Diablo Community College in California. I mean, how much can you really take from anything he did there, but was solid. Isn't usually the guy that's going to run the ball a lot, around 200 yards and a couple touchdowns each season so far. However, I think you stick a guy like this who has shown the ability to make decisions and throw the football, kind of manage the game, into a Josh Heupel offense, he's going to produce. I don't know that he's going to be the most skilled quarterback in the conference for sure, hence him being all the way down here at 16. Don't have a ton of confidence in this Tennessee offense in general. I think the Volunteers' defense is really going to be where they make a lot of their money this year, especially that secondary. That secondary is going to be incredible. But Joey Aguilar, not awful, but still not good enough for me to put him any higher than 16th. Moving up to number 15, it's the other Kentucky quarterback in Zach Calzada. In 2024, he threw for 3,744 yards, 35 touchdowns, and 9 interceptions, and then added 322 yards and 5 touchdowns on the ground. That was at Incarnate Word. Guys following the Cam Ward pipeline. Go to Incarnate Word, come back to a Power 5 school, hopefully ball out. However, Cam Ward started out at Incarnate Word, and Zach Calzada ended up there from Texas A&M, where he really struggled in his second season. Wasn't really great, was panicky a lot of the time, looked overwhelmed a lot of the time, and I just don't know if he's going to be able to fix that, iron it out, no matter how many yards you throw for against these FCS teams. Granted, he did have good games against good teams like South Dakota State, where he threw for over 300 and 3 touchdowns. So there is something there, and he has kind of produced in the SEC before. I just don't have confidence in him to be able to really slow down, let the game come to him, play decisively, especially in a situation as bad as Kentucky where you don't really have a ton around you. I just don't really have a lot of confidence in him. Calzada's thrown 9 interceptions each of the last 3 seasons, that number right on the dot. So if nothing else, at least he's consistent, although if you are Kentucky, you would like to see that number come down, and I just don't have confidence that he is going to be able to jump back into the SEC and be acclimated and be ready to go. So hence why Cutter Boley found his way onto this list. And as for Calzada, just you hope to get the version you saw last year, because that's really his only year of, I would say, being a guy that can really contribute and carry a team over the top so far in his career. Moving on up to 14, it is Missouri's Bo Pribula, who is the Penn State transferred there after putting up 275 yards, 5 touchdowns, and an interception, added 242 yards and 4 touchdowns last year. Obviously, wasn't seeing the majority of the time. Drew Aller was the guy there and will still be the guy there, hence why Pribula is off to Columbia. However, he's had some decent time, and he did have an 11 for 13 with 98 yards and a touchdown versus Wisconsin. That's an okay performance. He did throw an interception versus Kent State, which might be a cuttable offense. I don't know how you feel about that, but that's one of the worst teams in college football, and I know I say that jokingly, but still. You can't be making mistakes against teams of that caliber. We don't want another SEC team losing to Toledo like Mississippi State did last year. This guy was a 3-star out of high school, was a 4-star as a transfer, top 150 transfer, and he doesn't necessarily have the biggest arm in the world. However, what he does have is pinpoint accuracy. It's really what this guy is famed for. Was great. Go back and look at his tape from the Elite 11 when he did that. His touch there was so good. Was really one of the more on-target guys there the entire time. And he's going to have a new running mate this season. Kevin Coleman Jr. has been acquired from Mississippi State. That is an incredible addition, I think, for this Missouri offense. But their best addition, and the one I think is going to work best with Pribula, is Louisiana Monroe's Ahmad Hardy. Hardy was one of the best running backs in the nation last season, was a guy that, as an Auburn student, I really wanted coming to the Plains with the graduation of Jarquez Hunter, but still, Ahmad Hardy is going to absolutely ball out in Columbia in that offense. You saw what Schrader did there a couple years ago, so I think if you can take that and multiply it by whatever factor you feel like, because I think Ahmad Hardy is a better athlete and a better player than Cody Schrader was, but still, you look at that with Pribula, a quarterback who has this dual threat ability. He's a good athlete, and so you can take that and you suddenly have this option game with Bo Perbula and Ahmad Hardy, and you can do RPOs off that read option when now work to your new target in Kevin Coleman Jr. I'm not saying the Missouri offense is going to be prolific, but they're going to have options. They're not really going to be stuck in, we only have to do this one thing because this is the only thing our quarterback can do. Perbula kind of opens the offense up a little bit where he has multiple skill sets. Whether he can really produce over a full season as a starter, we don't know because we haven't seen it yet. However, I'm optimistic that he will at least be a plus in the run and option game. So for that got him up to 14 for me plus the accuracy. Number 13, it's Austin Simmons of Ole Miss. And I know a lot of people have this guy fairly high. I've seen him in some people's top 5s, which feels outrageous. But last year, only threw for 282, 2 touchdowns, no picks, saw very limited action. Diced up Furman, which whoopee, but I just haven't seen anything from this guy. And his tape is great. The high school tape is incredible. The ball looks amazing coming out of his hand. I just do not know what he can do on an SEC football field consistently. And I think when you're evaluating that, you essentially go back to the recruit evaluation, like you would a prospect evaluation. Say, okay, how am I going to project this guy? What do I think he can do? The Lane Kiffin offense is very, very friendly. And I think that's going to help Simmons out a ton. He is a lefty, so that's an interesting wrinkle. Former baseball pitcher as well, if you did not know that. But if there's a system to learn on the fly in, the Lane Kiffin system is one of the best to be able to do it. And I think he's very talented. I think we'll see this guy do great things in the SEC over the next couple seasons. I can't put him too much higher than this because I'm essentially doing a recruit evaluation at this point, even though he's projected to be the starter, because you just haven't really seen anything. And that's why he's behind the next guy on this list, is Keelan Russell, the true freshman for Alabama. This guy was a consensus 5-star, freak athlete, big arm, can run all over the place. I think he will be starting by midseason at least. I don't believe in Ty Simpson. I don't believe in Ty Simpson at all. And just doing the recruit evals, recruit tape study on both him and Simmons, I'm more impressed by him than what I saw from Austin Simmons. And since I know we've seen literally nothing from Keelan Russell and we've seen a little bit from Austin Simmons on an SEC field, I just think it's close enough to where I'm still going to put Keelan Russell ahead in what I think he can do on a football field, especially with the talent around him. I know Ryan Williams kind of got the big game merchant label or Georgia merchant label after last year, but he is still an exceptional talent. And if you have a guy like Keelan Russell who can run all over the place like he can, improvise like he can, I think he can be an absolutely incredible quarterback. And that would be such a seamless transition from a Jalen Milroe play style. You then stick this other guy, another freak athlete with a big arm, into the offense, who honestly, the accuracy might not be too big of a drop-off, because that was Milroe's big weak point, was his true accuracy with the football. So I think Russell could be a seamless integration into this offense and do great things for the Crimson Tide. So I have him up at 12 despite not playing a snap of college football. At number 11, it is Gunnar Stockton of Georgia. 2024 threw for 440, a touchdown and a pick, and I was so impressed with this guy in the college football playoff against Notre Dame. He really put it all on the line. SEC championship, laid his body on the line, took the huge hit versus Texas. That was still one of the best hits I saw all of last season. But if we know anything about the Georgia offense, they can produce with a quarterback that is just a dog, which appropriately for Georgia, I would guess. But this guy is such a tough player, is going to grit out games for you. And I think having that kind of guy under center, especially in a league as physical as the SEC is, can really take you over the top. And so he hasn't played a ton of football either. It's kind of the range we're in right now of guys that I feel confident in that we just haven't seen a ton of game action from. Though the fact that Stockton came in and produced fairly well in both the SEC championship and a CFP game is why he gets the edge for me here. And then also, you get a huge boost to the receiving core. You get Zachariah Branch in from Southern Cal, and then Noah Thomas in from Texas A&M. This Georgia receiving core has not been good. You look at last year, part of the reason why Carson Beck regressed so much is because apparently his receivers decided to coat their hands in Teflon before every game. Oh my goodness, the Georgia receivers could not catch a football last year. It was tough to watch at times. So that, plus Stockton's potential in the read option game, plus his gutsy running, I think this guy is really going to be primed for a solid season this year, and the talent around him at Georgia is just incredible. So I'm going to have him at number 11. At number 10, it's Mississippi State's Blake Shapen, and I know what you're thinking. Why on earth do you have the second best Mississippi State quarterback from last year at number 10? Michael Van Buren was incredible. He's gone. He's at LSU. Mississippi State has nothing left. I would encourage you to go watch Blake Shapen versus Arizona State especially, because that's the best opponent he played that actually mattered at the end of the season. And then he had a really good game versus Toledo, even though his team got waxed. Last year, in his 4 games before his season ended, due to injury, I might add, he did not get benched for Michael Van Buren. Had a shoulder injury, fractured scapula in his throwing shoulder, and was out after that season-ending surgery. But in those really 3.5 games, threw for 974 yards, 8 touchdowns, only 1 interception, and added 2 rushing touchdowns despite not really a ton of rushing yards. Granted, one of those games was versus Eastern Kentucky. That's a team you just, let's be honest, farm for XP. However, you would also say Toledo's a team you do that too, and they got blown out at home by the Rockets. So there was not a ton of talent on these teams. Kevin Coleman Jr. was still there, but he's gone now, so you're going in without that. I'm highly optimistic that Blake Shapen is a guy that can produce without a ton of talent around him, because he showed the ability to last year. Arizona State was a team that almost upset Texas in the college football playoff, and he made them look lost for a lot of that game. Really diced apart their defense, is confident. I love confidence in a quarterback. Like I said, did lose a lot of talent from last year, though. Lost 4 of his top 5 receivers, but did add Oklahoma's Brennan Thompson, Ole Miss's Aiden Williams, and Michigan State's Jaron Glover. So there is an infusion of talent coming in, even if it's not, say, your Zachariah Branches or Eric Singletons of the world. There are reinforcements coming in for Blake Shapen, and I love the confidence. Showed toughness a lot of last year in his fairly small sample size, and I like that he doesn't make mistakes. The only 1 interception across those 4 games. Arizona State, solid secondary. The Florida defense was not great, admittedly, at that point in the year, but still a fairly solid secondary at that point in the year. So you can play those teams without making mistakes. I love that. Number 9, Jackson Arnold, Auburn. This guy, I think, is the biggest question mark in the conference going into the season. I don't think there's any player in the SEC whose individual performance will affect their team's season outcome more than Jackson Arnold. At Oklahoma last year, he threw for 1,421 yards, 12 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions, added 444 rushing yards, and 3 touchdowns on the ground as well. Former top 10 prospect overall. This guy was elite. 5-star coming out of high school. Goes to Oklahoma, leaves there as a 4-star transfer, got benched in the middle of the season for Michael Hawkins Jr. Not great. However, I would like to remind you that Oklahoma essentially was playing with Walmart greeters on the outside after their top 6 receivers missed significant time last year. The receiving corps was absolutely decimated, one of the biggest injury hits to position group I've seen. You look at what he has now at Auburn. The receiver corps of Cam Coleman, Eric Singleton Jr., and Malcolm Simmons. You add in Perry Thompson as well. There's some great receiving talent on this Auburn team. Brought in Xavier Chaplin to play left tackle, so you have that going for you as well, the Virginia Tech transfer. I'm not overly confident that Jackson Arnold, based on what I saw last year, can go out and make kind of the exceptional play. I think he can manage a game okay, especially with the talent that's going to be around him compared to last year. I don't know yet if this is a guy that can take you over the top. And until I see him make some kind of wow plays and be like, oh, this is a guy that I want leading my team when it matters, I can't put him any higher than this. And you're looking at an Auburn team where on the defense you have big leaders like Keldrick Falk, a cornerback duo that's great of the Miami of Ohio transfer Rayon Strader and Jay Crawford. The pieces are there. This could be a very talented team. This could be a team that goes 9-3. This could also be a team that goes 4-8. And it all depends on what you get from Jackson Arnold, and that's a ton of pressure for the kid. So obviously as an Auburn student, I hope he manages to perform up to that level as a prospect, of a top 10 prospect, and I think there's a world where it happens. I'm just not super confident seeing the play from him that I saw last year. Got panicky at times, really would run around like a headless chicken and just try to make something happen that wasn't really there, and that just doesn't work. You can't always out-athlete guys in the SEC or the Big Ten or a lot of these power conferences like you can in a Group of 5 team or in high school. some of the freak guys can, which we'll get onto actually with the next guy who is one of those freak athletes. But for Jackson Arnold, I'm not sure if there's enough there to really warrant being one of the top quarterbacks in the conference, at least not yet. The potential's there, but can he capitalize? No real way to know as of right now. At number 8, Taylon Green. This is an incredible athlete. Was great at Boise State in 22 and 23. 2024 at Arkansas, threw for 3,154 yards, 15 touchdowns and 9 interceptions, added 602 yards and 8 touchdowns on the ground. This is one of the more dynamic dual threats in the conference, has great athletic upside, had great games versus Mississippi State, and in the bowl game absolutely eviscerated Texas Tech. Typical game from this guy, you're going to see probably 240 yards and then 1-1 touchdown interceptions. That's just kind of what he does. On a normal Saturday, that's what you're going to get from Taylon Green. And if you're Arkansas, I think you can live with that. You would like to see him develop, though. His real thing is you have to cut out the mistakes. I feel like I'd be watching Arkansas football a lot last year, and Taylon Green, you'd see him back behind the pocket, he starts to run around, you're like, oh, he's improvising, and then he stops, and oh, he's found a guy, fires right at a defender, and it's just the dumb mistakes. I don't think there was a single quarterback in the SEC that made more inexplicably ridiculous mistakes than Taylon Green last year, whether it was fumbles, interceptions, just was a turnover machine, and the tape really backed it up. The tape was not good for Taylon Green last season, so if he can kind of work out of that, get the Jameis Winston-isms out of that, you need to develop the passing. The actual accuracy is not quite there yet. However, the upside as a runner is so large. The arm is very good. If you can distill the athlete into more of a football player, you have a very, very good quarterback, and I trust that athleticism and that ability to improvise more than I do some of the guys below him, like a Jackson Arnold or a Blake Shapen. And the big part of this list, too, is who do I think are the top guys that can really make a difference and send a team over the top? And I think Taylon Green, when Taylon Green is on and the best version of himself, he is one of those guys that can drag a team to a win. Moving on to number 7 is Texas A&M's Marcel Reed. This is the second best athlete at quarterback in the conference, I think. Second only South Carolina's Lenora Sellers. In 2024, threw for 1,864 yards, 15 touchdowns, 6 picks, added 547 and 7 touchdowns on the ground. Just a freak athlete. This dude can fly, can throw, and really his only big glaring weak point is he'll run around like a headless chicken and he'll make some inexplicably bad decisions. A lot like Taylon Green, actually. That's why these guys are so close together. Similar play styles. I just think Reed has the bigger arm and he's a better athlete, and for that reason I have him higher. You also have just the Texas A&M transfer portal money, which helps out a lot, bring out a ton of great receivers into this program, namely Kevin Concepcion. Excited to see how he does in the system this year. But also, it kind of feels like A&M is a place where these super hyped prospects go to become mid, if that makes sense. Like they go in and they get infected with like Texas A&M 8-4 disease and become a worse version of themselves. I feel like you see that all the time. So hopefully that doesn't happen to Marcel Reed. Hopefully he continues to progress instead of regress. But kind of was split a lot of time last season. Connor Wegman played some decent time as well. Obviously was the original starter to open the season until Reed got inserted back for him. But if he can just cut down on the freakouts and he can really play more focused, get a little bit more disciplined, I think he definitely has the athletic upside and the arm to absolutely carve up defenses. You saw him versus LSU. It was an absolute nightmare for them off the edge. They had no idea what to do with him in the option game. They were lost. He and Le'Veon Moss are going to be an absolutely deadly duo this year. I think this is going to be one of the more fun teams to run the option with, like I talked about with Ahmad Hardy and Bo Perbula earlier for Missouri, although this is going to be on steroids. Love Marcel Reed, love the athleticism. He'll be fun to watch. At number 6, it's Diego Pavia of Vanderbilt. And I've seen a lot of people on Twitter, it's baseball season right now, so you have all the like wins above replacement and expected batting average against and all these like fancy baseball stats. Everyone's talking about we need like a X dog for just how much dog the guy has in him. And Diego Pavia might break the scale for that chart. Let me tell you, this guy plays with his full body, his full heart every single game, really gives it everything. Last year, threw for 2,293 yards, 20 touchdowns, 4 picks, added 800 rushing yards and 8 more touchdowns. And not only is this guy going to put his body on the line? But he doesn't turn the ball over either. It's not like he's fumbling all the time. He doesn't have a big arm, but he's not trying to force it and throwing interceptions while doing it. He is very good at knowing his limits and playing to the absolute extent of them while not doing anything that's he knows he just isn't able to do. Like, he's not forcing passes ever. He's not trying to layer throws to the outside. That's not his game. He knows it's not his game. He plays within himself very, very well. And you add to that probably the nation's best tight end and Eli Stowers with him this year. Those two developing that connection, they're only going to get better. Incredible value as a runner as well. Just so good. Very well-rounded player. This is one of my least favorite things to say about quarterbacks because I think QB wins are kind of a dumb stat. There are a bunch of other guys that play on the team too, but dude's just a winner. He is at this point. Owns the state of Alabama, which is neat. As an Auburn fan, I never want to see this guy ever again, to be honest. Has walked us in Jordan-Hare twice, which is very not cool, but thankfully also upset Alabama, which was pretty neat. But however, I have to respect the guy. He's an incredible football player, is going to leave his heart on the field there every time, and is just a leader too. And I think that can go undervalued at quarterback sometimes, how well these guys are at picking up the rest of their team when maybe something isn't going right and really getting them back in it. And I think Pavia's great at doing that as well. He's just going to win you games. At number 5, Florida's DJ Lagway. Now, I feel like I see this guy in the top, at least top 4, top 3 on probably 90% of SEC QB rankings going into this year. And I love Lagway's upside. I think he has a ridiculous arm. If he can work out the hamstring injury, if he's good to go off that, the athletic upside for running is also incredibly high for Lagway. And if you want to see the arm, I know it's going to sound ridiculous because it's Samford, but the one throw he had against Samford to the pylon on the outside, sideline, hash mark to other hash mark, far side of the field, one of the best throws I've seen from a Florida quarterback, maybe ever. And I know it's against Samford, but that doesn't make the throw any less impressive. Last year, like I said, was limited due to injury and then didn't get to really start until Game 3, Game 4 because of the Graham Mertz injury, who was the original starter. But Lagway threw for 1,915 yards, 12 touchdowns, 9 picks, and added 101 yards rushing. The 9 picks are the concern for me because as elite as his potential is, as elite as his arm is, the Florida receivers are great. You have Trey Wilson, J. Michael Sturdivant coming in from UCLA, Dallas Wilson, the freshman. There are so many good talents. The read option game, if he's healthy with Jaden Ball, is going to be another one that's absolutely lethal. I'm heavily concerned about the kind of brain-dead mistakes. I feel like you saw it especially in the bowl game versus Tulane. Would drop back, look like he's reading the field well, fire, and it's just right to a linebacker that it looks like he didn't see it all. And that happened in multiple games, and that's something you have to fix. You can't go out there and launch picks and expect to win games, even with how good this Florida defense is going to be this year with the developing D-line. There's some NFL talent on that D-line for real this year, and then secondary should be much improved, but you can't turn the ball over that much and expect to win games consistently. 9 interceptions in as limited action as he was last year just isn't good enough. It frankly isn't good enough, and you have to improve that, especially you got a veteran O-line, great receivers around you, good running back talent. Calm down, let the game come to you, process it, and really work through it. Take advantage of your elite natural talent with the arm. If he's healthy, like I've said, I feel like a million times now, if he's healthy, the legs will be good to go too. I'm concerned with the turnovers, and because of that, I can't put him any higher than 5th. Still think he's a great quarterback, though. Great potential. Probably the best, as far as just raw talent, the best quarterback at Florida since Tim Tebow, in my opinion. Moving on to number 4, Arch Manning of Texas. Yes, it is finally Arch Manning season, and you might be thinking, 4, that's a little low. He's only played last year, and I get he played well. For 939 yards, 9 touchdowns, 2 picks, added 108 rushing yards and 4 touchdowns. Actually can run. Not something you always see from a Manning for sure, but the 3 guys above him have so much experience and have so much experience playing very, very high-level football. I have to keep Arch below them, even though I think he's going to be incredible. I mean, what more do you want me to say about Arch Manning? I feel like you've heard it all already for Arch at this point. I don't want to just be another, oh, this is why Arch Manning's great. Arch Manning's an incredible quarterback. He's good. You know he's good. You've heard nothing but he's good from the past 2 or 3 years. I will say, did have a rough game versus Louisiana Monroe. If you want to nitpick, I will say, if you're an Oklahoma fan out there and you want to nitpick some Arch Manning film, go turn on the ULM game from last year. Threw 2 picks versus the Warhawks. I will say, not playing with the receiver core of last year. Isaiah Bond is gone. Matthew Golden is gone. Although Ryan Wingo, still there. Incredible talent for sure. And I think that's one guy you're going to absolutely have to take advantage of. And the big thing, though, I think for Arch is C.J. Baxter is back. Missed all of last season with injury. However, in the Steve Sarkisian offense, C.J. Baxter is a guy that can be an absolute weapon. And you look at Arch's scrambling ability, another fun team for the option game. So let Sark cook. He'll definitely have some stuff drawn up for that. But Arch Manning, great quarterback. You've heard all about Arch Manning by now. He's at 4 for me. Number 3, John Mateer of Oklahoma, as I'll let all the Red River rivalry fans start fighting now in the comments. 2024 at Washington State, threw for 3,139 yards, 29 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. And I know what you're thinking. You put a quarterback at number 3, who at Washington State, who was playing no one all year, only threw for 29 touchdowns and threw 7 picks. Well, I did because he rushed for 15 touchdowns. That is a total of 36 touchdowns last season. Added 826 rushing yards on the ground. So when you factor that in, he's closer to a 4,000-yard, 40-touchdown player. And if you get any semblance of that for Oklahoma, he's going to be incredible. He is so good. The arm is huge. He's willing to sacrifice himself in the run game. He's such a good runner. I think that's really gone under the radar with him. With the passing numbers at Wazoo, he comes in as a quarterback. I don't think there are a ton of people who have gone back and watched this guy play. He is an elite runner of the football for the quarterback position. I think he's going to be great there. Was ranked 6th in the portal overall, but I think this is the biggest player to get in the portal just because not only is he rated that high, but he's the highest rated quarterback other than Nico Iamaleava. But go watch the 2 last year. Tell me which one you think is a better quarterback. So John Mateer, I think, is just a program-changing kind of guy. And then Oklahoma, you get the new 5-star quarterback recruit, whose name isn't coming to my mind right now, but the very highly rated quarterback they got to commit to. Is the recruiting kind of turning around now for guys under Brent Venables? I know you got Jackson Arnold a while back, but this really feels like, OU quarterbacks are coming back, like we maybe saw under Lincoln Riley, these more elite talents wanting to go to Oklahoma. And I know the main question for John Mateer this year, who's he going to throw to? Well, I got 3 guys that came in via the transfer portal. Giovanni Gibson from Arkansas Pine Bluff had over 1,000 receiving yards last year for Arkansas Pine Bluff. Very, very good player. Keontez Lewis from Southern Illinois, another solid player, had over 700 yards last season for them. I think he'll be solid too. And then Isaiah Satenya is a very good pickup from Arkansas. This guy is a solid, big receiver. I think those 3 are going to make a good trio. And then you add in Jaden Ott. Oh my goodness, the option game. I feel like I've talked about the option game a million times in this video, but this is the one I'm most excited to watch this season, is John Mateer and Jaden Ott off the read option. If they are both healthy, that is a long day for whoever your edge setter is on the defense. I don't care who he is. That is a hard assignment. That's a long, long day out there setting the edge. And that versatility, the arm is big. He's proven ability to put up these crazy numbers before, go out, beat teams he's supposed to beat. Love John Mateer. Think that he is going to be a match made in heaven with Oklahoma there. I think he's going to be incredible. Number 2, Garrett Nussmeier of LSU. And last year threw for 4,052 yards, 29 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. Doesn't run the ball. Not a runner. Will stand in under pressure and make throws. That's something I thought he really progressed in last year. At the start of the season, a little bit more panicky in the pocket, really settled in. Only has 1 year as a full-time starter, but Jaden Daniels exists, so only really the 1 year you're going to get. And he was solid in that year. LSU was also loaded up at receiver coming into the season. They get Nick Anderson in from Oklahoma and Berrien Brown in from Kentucky. Anderson missed all of last season but had nearly 800 yards in 2023. And then Berrien Brown's production, despite going down each year since his great freshman season with 628 yards, the dude played at Kentucky. Like, what do you want from the guy? So I think that Nussmeier's going to have a great receiving core to throw to. And The one thing for him, I would say 12 interceptions is a bit high. You want that a little lower. And if he can just learn to read the field slightly better, I think that's where he gets into troubles, especially over the middle. You look at him trying to force things because he knows his arm is big and he tries to utilize the big arm. And I think that gets him in trouble a little bit sometimes. So you'd like to see him quit forcing the ball as much. And then another big thing, 2 new starting offensive tackles this season for Garrett Nussmeier, with both Will Campbell and Emory Jones going the way of the NFL. I still think he's a great quarterback, though. This is probably the most prototypical pro-ready guy in the conference right now. If you want just a stereotypical, like the 6'2", tall, looks good in shorts type NFL quarterback stereotype, this is the guy in the SEC right now, I think. So number 2, Garrett Nussmeier. And then number 1, it's Lenore Sellers of South Carolina. And I know I have a lot of buddies who are Clemson fans who are not going to enjoy Lenore Sellers at number 1. However, bear with me here. Threw for 2,534 yards last season, had 18 touchdowns, 7 picks, added 674 yards and 7 touchdowns on the ground. However, missed a lot of time with the ankle injury, or missed a game with the ankle injury, but also playing through that the rest of the year, that's going to limit your ability. And I would like him to learn a bit more ball security. Sometimes you see him running around with it, and it's like, oh my gosh, please hold on to the ball better. Still, great runner of the football. This is the best overall athlete in the conference at the quarterback position. And part of the reason I have him number 1, I talked about it earlier. Who do I want in the game who I think, okay, they can take over? And Lenore Sellers, I would say, is at that top of the list for me for the SEC of, okay, if you give me any SEC quarterback on just a team with average talent, which one do I think can go in and just take over a game? And if Lenore Sellers is on his best game, he will do that. He is a very good runner of the football, has a good arm, has accurate enough. I wouldn't say the accuracy is incredible. I would definitely probably have him further down the list if this is just an accuracy list. However, the complete package, I think, is worth the number 1 spot because the arm is live and he can make plays with that, and the running ability is so dynamic. He is the complete package. And I talk about John Mateer so much and what I loved about his ability to run and throw and do all that, but at the end of the day, he did it at Washington State, and Lenore Sellers has already proven the ability to do it versus these top-tier opponents. I mean, the LSU game last year was incredible to watch what he was doing before he went down in that game with the injury. I would love for his receivers to kind of figure out how to get open more. Need Nick Harbor to be more of a football player than an athlete. And then Mazeo Bennett, if he can keep developing, I think is a solid option. I'm worried about the O-line, though. I'm not sure how good that group's going to be. And I just think Sellers is good enough, even if the O-line is a bit subpar. He is a good enough athlete to kind of work his way out of it. And if he can just remain calm, and that's one thing I love on tape with him, is he may be scrambling, but he's not panicking. It's a big difference between him and like a Taylon Green or a Marcel Reed. When he looks to run, he still has other options in mind. He's not just scrambling around aimlessly, hoping something opens up. He knows what he's doing. He has a plan, and I really like that in a quarterback. I think he is, like I said, the complete package, the overall best quarterback in the SEC for the 2025 season. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments. I'm sure there are a lot of y'all that are going to disagree with some of this. I would say if I had to pick 2 that I would expect people to be upset about, it's John Mateer at 3 and then Ty Simpson all the way down at 17. So if you have some comments about either of those or anything else, please let me know. But keep tuned into the channel. Do subscribe if you haven't already. Would really appreciate that. Love any support I can get on this kind of content. Making videos is something I really enjoy and love it when you guys tune in and give feedback for it. So let me know what you think. Let me know what you want to see kind of coming up as we get closer to the season. I'll have more videos like this for other conferences as we get closer. But for now, I've been Micah. This has been State of the FBS, and I'll see y'all next time.